Good morning. And by now you know
Don't know you. I don't know you.
who I am. I am Wayne Johnson with Doc and Queen Ministries. Today I'll be discussing the prodigal son. I want to share you on a time when I was a prodigal son. I was a prodigal son, I believe in my freshman or either sophomore year at the university. I went to the nearby university in my area, and I was living at home with mom and dad, and we had an argument, and I just left. Had a friend that was also attending the university that I was going to, and he took me in, him and his wife, for some time. So as some days passed by, I'm gonna say maybe 3 days passed by. It's not a whole lot to do when you out just leaving from your home. So I'm doing the same thing every day, going to school, coming there, sleeping, doing nothing. But eventually, like the prodigal son, you start thinking about things and wondering about things and just second guessing your decision. So I came to quote unquote my senses, and I reached out to mom, and of course they asked me to come on back home. Well, I was coming back home, and I didn't get like the ring and the sandals and the great party and stuff. But the first thing, as you're headed back, you're wondering what is going to be the conversation like. You think that the conversation is going to be, well, why you did this and why you did that, etc., etc., etc. However, my parents welcomed me back home, and everything got back to normal uh, within a few weeks. It's just important to understand that many of us will go through that prodigal situation, and we have our thoughts of what's going to happen, and we kind of feel embarrassed, shame, uh, upset about how did it get here in the first place. But let us take a look, because I'm going to only be using 4 verses, and all 4 verses either has the word home or house in it. So let us go ahead and get started. Verse 18 is the first one I will be using in Luke chapter 15, and it reads, I will go home to my father and say, Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you. The father has to be in a place of already knowing who he is. The next thing has to happen is the son or whoever's the prodigal have to come to their senses. And a lot of times it takes a while for you to get there, because first you are dealing with the issues of why you left in the first place. But as you see, the father in this story never reached out to his son. He let his son take his time and got his bearings, and he allowed his son to maneuver about with what he thought he wanted to do. So verse 20 goes to and says, So he returned home to his father. And while he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming in the distance. Filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. I know when I was a prodigal out there, the very thing that you think about is they're going to ask a lot of questions. What were you doing? Why did you leave in the first place? What are you thinking? But as you see here, and even in my personal relationship, my mom, my dad welcomed me back with open arms. A lot of times we try to think what we know is going to happen, and a lot of times it could be the complete opposite. Verse 22 says, But his father said to the servants, Quick, bring the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Get a ring for his finger and sandals for his feet. See, when you're a prodigal out there, it's not the responsibility of the father to come and get you. It is your responsibility to come to your senses. But when you do, make no mistakes about it, they're going to welcome you because they miss you as well. And when this happened, the father called out to the servants, get the best of the best of the best things for him because his son has returned home. Verse 25 says, meanwhile, the other son was in the field and he was working. When he returned home, he heard music and dancing in the house. There's going to always be people when you return who are not going to be pleased with the situation.
Say what?
There's going to be people on the outside that's going to say to your father, even possibly to you, you shouldn't have done that. You were disrespectful. Blase, blase, blah. But as you see, it is so important for you to return home. Why? Because home is where your blessings
There's no place like home.
are. You can go out there and think that things are better on the outside. However, your blessings are at home. Return to your house. Make amends to your father. You have to understand that there is no place like home. Have a great day.